Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome, Joseph. How are you?
I am good, Spencer. How are you?
I'm doing just dandy, as you can tell. Let me give out the phone number, 888-659-3727. Besides my ears being completely clogged, just so you know, I had COVID again. You knew that, just in case anyone was missing me, which I kind of doubt.
No, there are actually some comments in the comment section of previous episodes saying, where the F is the show?
Really?
Yeah.
I tell you, our aspect ratio.
Say where's Spencer? They just said, where's the show? So I don't know if it was they missed me or they missed you or both. I don't know.
I have to tell you, though, you look like a giant next to me in this shot.
It took time, but, you know. The camera. Yeah. Got it. Sorry.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. You know, it's interesting. So it's the second time I had COVID. And so I go to the facility where I go to get checked out. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm not feeling too good. I think I have COVID. Oh, well, you don't really know. I mean, the flu's going around, this is going around, that's going around. I'm like...
The flu doesn't exist anymore. What the hell's wrong with these people?
I'm like, I don't really get sick, so let's check it out. Mm-hmm. Test positive. And this doctor goes to me, and this is hilarious. So, do you want me to write you a script for Paxlovid? Paxlovid?
Yes.
Okay. Or do you just want to let it ride?
That's good.
So I said, you know, no. So I said, listen, I did read that there were some studies that were initially conducted by Pfizer that essentially stated clearly, and, you know, at some point the press reported on this, that those with mild to moderate cases, this drug didn't seem to really do much good. And there is potential for some significant adverse effects, even using a short course, like liver damage, stuff like that. So I don't know if it's really worth it for me to give this a shot. I said, I do have other medication, which got me through the first time very quickly. I think I'll use that. It was like a record just stopped, you know? Close.
Here we go.
And this person said, well, I mean, this is not FDA approved, and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, well, do you know of any known side effects of this particular drug? And she said, oh, well, no, I don't. And I'm like, well, let's pull up the side effects on this screen of Paxlovid. Let me see if there's any value to me giving this a shot when I currently have mild COVID.
Nail her to the wall right now.
You know, that's good. And I just find it fascinating. I find it really unfortunate for people who don't have the wherewithal or, you know, just don't have the courage or just listen to anybody about anything when it comes, you know, if they're wearing a white coat. This is a drug that, yes, has now been kind of fast-tracked and approved for the indication of COVID-19. But according to the manufacturer's own studies, there has been no benefit for people with mild to moderate COVID symptoms. Mm-hmm. Yet it's being pushed on everybody. Anyway, long story short, I got better in 3 days.
And here we are today, able to do another episode of The Bald Truth.
And I know that I am in the high risk category. Apparently, being a person of a certain age. She made sure to tell me that.
Well, she's got to try to scare you somehow.
Yeah.
So what else does she have? Your age.
Yeah. So anyway, I can tell you this. It sucks. There's no doubt about it. But at least this time around, it was kind of like a severe cold. I did lose my sense of smell for a day, which freaked me the F out.
I bet. Because you can't taste bourbon.
I wasn't able to drink. My Marlboros taste like nothing. It was like, I felt them. Just kidding. I don't smoke, in case my insurance company's listening. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. But my ear is still a little clogged. Let me see if that's better. This is the Hair Loss Show. We are still here as often as we can be to answer your questions. I want to make it clear. My Instagram seems to be growing very slowly but consistently. And with that consistent growth comes consistent DMs. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. I'm talking about 70 in a day, sometimes more. And they're all very similar questions. And I promise you guys, if I had the time, like I did at the beginning of my career, to sit down and answer all of your questions through DMs, I would. But a lot of you have very specific questions or questions that are you think are specific to you, but are very similar to the same questions that, others would have. And that's why we do the live broadcast. So if you are someone who follows me on Instagram and you want to have your questions answered, this is the time and the place. It's a toll-free number, 888-659-3727. And we can both Joseph W. Tillman and myself can really take some time with you. It's not just a text message. Who's the best doctor? I can't answer that. We have to know what your situation is, whether or not you actually are a candidate. We've been able to talk people out of surgery through this broadcast just by making it clear to them that they most likely aren't candidates for surgery. And there have been people who have called us back over the years who have said we changed their life, that they took that money that they were going to spend on surgery, and this is a true story, I think Vic from D.C. decided to invest it in his higher education, got himself on a career path that he wanted, became exceedingly successful. I think he has a family now. And he said none of it would have been possible if he would have spent that money at the time on a hair transplant that he would have regretted because he was not a candidate for surgery.
And he named his firstborn Wallingford after my middle name.
Yes, which I think was
Joseph Wallingford Tillman.
It
was quite kind.
I think it was magnanimous on his part because now his poor kid's got to walk around with that name. If that's the right word.
Welcome to my life.
Welcome to Joe's life. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. I'm wearing an extra large shirt today, Joe. I just need to explain this to you because the larges in this brand do not fit me anymore. So now I'm stuck between this weird, do I wear a baggy shirt? Or do I shrink it? Or do I wear something that's super tight and I look like I'm from the UK? I don't know why the UK guys wear such tight shirts. Do you notice that?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, some of my buddies I call up and we'll do FaceTime or something. It's like,
but all the time. I don't even understand. Even their dress shirts, but especially their polo shirts, short sleeve shirts. Mm-hmm. It's like they're stuck in 1987. Why is this?
And they flip the collars up too.
Yeah, I don't know if they do that, but they might do that. But it's true. I mean, and they wear they wear tight, like, and again, that's their style. They're part of the world. I get it. That's what the ladies find sexy, apparently. But they wear like tight, like lycra, like cotton mix T-shirts, where you could actually see the outlines of their nipples. How do I
nipple imprints?
Anyway, that's
Turn
just
off the sound.
I just figured it out.
The little button there, you just gonna click it down.
I figured it out. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. We are here, toll-free, here to answer your calls. This is the Hair Loss Show. We have some calls on the line. We're going to get to the phones. But again, if you are considering hair transplant surgery, if you have surgery scheduled for Monday, I don't care if you put your deposit down. Tell us who you decide to have surgery with. We will let you know whether or not, A, that's a good decision. And also if you may or may not be a great candidate for surgery, just based on the information that you provide us with. Sometimes losing that deposit is the best money ever spent.
We've been told that.
We have been told that, and we've been preaching that for almost 30 years. 30 years. By the way, it's unbelievable, man. 30 years. Guys, hold on. I'm going to take your calls in a second. 26 years, basically, almost 27 years. And I'm still receiving nasty texts from physicians who we've known for that period of time.
Yes.
Who still don't understand what the F we do.
Mean tweets.
Mean tweets.
Mean DMs.
It's just, I'm not even frustrated anymore. I'm just like, whatever, fuck it, Good luck. See you on the other side.
It's back to what you're talking about with the number of DMs coming in. I was thinking about, the ones I get, and sometimes if I just, like, perfect example, you said they'll send you the question, who's the best doctor? How am I supposed to answer that? Like, I answer it by saying no such thing, and then I'm the asshole.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the next response usually is something like, well, you don't have to be rude about it, or you don't have to be sarcastic. It's like, I'm not being sarcastic. That's true. There's no such thing as the best doctor in the world, or the best doctor, period.
I love the guys who are like, you keep saying, that we have to be afraid of this and beware of this, but you don't give us any solutions. And I'm like, listen, guys, first of all, here's a hint. This entire page describes the entire scope and possible pitfalls of this incredibly difficult, nuanced, and elegant form of cosmetic surgery. It explains that this is real surgery and that your life can be effed up if you make the wrong decision. That alone should indicate that you might want to do a little, deeper digging into maybe who I am, what I do. You'll find all the resources. You'll find this program. They're so lazy that they want their answer on social media. They can't take a hint like, hey, wait, this is real? I had no idea. No one's ever told me that I could get effed up by this surgery.
Well, they want the answer in a short TikTok.
Yes, they do.
Addressed to them.
Brief before I take this call. So there's a influencer. I had no idea who this person was, who ended up going to an IHS accepted surgeon, promoted the fact that, and this is a woman who actually has a form of traction alopecia. So this hair transplant surgery will benefit her. But she made the right choice, and she was willing to spend the money to have the surgery. And she shared this with her followers. I think she has like 2 million followers. I'll tell you who she went to. She went to Sean Benham here in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And, I've seen him do this type of work, and he's outstanding. But I had to reach out to this person and just say, listen, first of all, congratulations on doing your due diligence and choosing a surgeon. You're in good hands. But as importantly, by sharing this information with your public, most influencers have made the wrong decision, and they've unwittingly shared the decision with their followers, and they're sending their followers into the lion's den. And I thanked her. I said, I'm glad you did your research. Your followers will benefit from this if they choose to go down this route. And I just congratulated her. And that was it. That was the only exchange. She thanked me. But that is so rare. Do you know I have never seen a single influencer except for one comedian who you know who this is. I don't know if we can talk about him. Except for one guy that went on social to promote their doctor, and that can possibly help his followers.
One guy of decent reputation. One person with a decent following.
Well, with a decent following. But also, any of the influencers with huge followings. I'm talking about millions of followers. I haven't seen one who's going to end up with a great hair transplant. And they are sending all of their followers into the lion's den. It's fucking pathetic.
Before they even see their own result.
Absolutely.
They start going online talking about their experience a week after they get home. They have no fucking clue.
They don't.
None.
I mean, she doesn't even know how her hair transplant is going to turn out, but at least whoever decides to go to this doctor has a fighting chance because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Phone number 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. Now, it looks like I'm clipping a little bit. Whatever. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
A couple weeks ago, I had a very unsettling experience. I went to my eye doctor, and I was diagnosed with glaucoma. And ironically, he prescribed Vimoprost, which is, being researched for hair loss treatment. And you know what the irony is? I'm more interested now in saving my eyesight than saving my hair. How ironic.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
Did you guys playing this?
May I reiterate it? Have you heard it? Excuse me.
Joe from Staten Island.
First of all, Joseph, I'm so sorry to hear that you're dealing with glaucoma. I think the good news is that I'm hoping that you caught it early, right?
Well, yeah, I guess so. It's been a couple of years. I didn't even know I had it. There's no signs of it.
Right. So what is the current prognosis for you?
Well, they have to lower the glaucoma is high blood pressure in the eye.
Right.
High pressure in the eye.
Right.
They have to lower the pressure.
Right.
And right now I've been on drops.
Right. Now I know that these drops actually are pretty effective in making that happen.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that you caught it before it affected your vision.
Right. I don't even wear glasses, as you probably know. The only time I wear glasses is when I'm on the computer. My vision is, pretty good. I drive. I watch TV without wearing glasses.
Well, and this is the good news. We do live in a time, no matter what people say about modern medicine and Western medicine, and while I've had questionable experiences, and I kind of look at everything with a jaundiced eye, no pun intended. There are certain medications, and that were developed by big pharma that change lives, that can keep you from losing your eyesight, that can keep you maintaining your eyesight, until you're a very old man, Joe. So I think we have to be thankful for that.
No, I'm no youngster anymore, as you probably know.
Neither am I.
55. But I think you're 57, right?
I'm 58.
It's close, right? But the point I'm trying to make is, isn't it ironic? Like years ago, I always constantly talk about my mom's trust, Lumigan. Remember I used to talk about it? It was always being researched.
Yeah, you're obsessed with it.
Corporations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. They talked about glaucoma. It was a glaucoma drug.
Right.
And you know what the irony is? I totally discounted glaucoma. I just discounted it totally. I could care less about it. Now it's amazing. It's so ironic. Now I prescribe the same drug, and I don't give a damn about it. Put it on my scalp.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about saving my eyesight. Could you gentlemen please comment on that?
Well, I can tell you this. There are plenty of guys who, they thought about taking finasteride for their hair loss. They were consumed with their hair loss like I was. Mm-hmm. And then once they reach their 50s, they're pissing every 5 minutes, and they feel like they can't control they're having pain in their prostate, and they're put on Proscar. And all of a sudden, they're not as concerned about the adverse side effects. They just want some help.
Concerned with living.
Yeah.
But it's so ironic. Now,
works.
if you guys give me a few minutes, yeah, it's ironic. I want you and Joe to discuss something I saw on Hairloss, Cure 2020, about this gentleman who received a kidney from a gentleman years ago, and now he's donating his hair to him. Could you please elaborate on that, if it's possible? Like, get into donating hair from one person to another. You gentlemen, please comment on the latest research into that.
Well, the guy's already on anti-rejection medication.
Right.
It's really simple, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, of course. If you're willing to essentially risk your life to be on anti-rejection medication for a hair transplant, then it is possible to have hair transplanted from another donor. It doesn't mean that you're going to that the medication is going to work for you, and that you won't. It's not 100% that you won't reject that hair, but there's a strong possibility that you won't. However, the adverse side effects that are associated with these types of medications certainly the risks don't outweigh the benefits when it comes to hair. But since he's already taking the medication, why not? Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Well, I understand some doctors are stating that if you transplant hair from one patient to another, it won't necessarily be rejected. I've read that. Could you gentlemen please comment on that?
Well, you have to ask them how do they know this? Have they tried it themselves? Have they performed these procedures? Because as far as I know, there's only been 2 or 3 that have been, I can't say documented, but referred to over the past 25 years online.
And the first being Colin Yehoda about 27 years ago, where he transplanted his wife's hair into his arm, and it continued to grow.
And after that, you had who was it? I forgot who did it. Did a transplant from one patient to another, completely unrelated, and it was just an experiment to see if it would grow. It didn't. I don't know what complications arose from that, if any, but that's another possible issue of complications from the surgery and the subsequent rejection. Because that's a whole, forget about the side effects from the if you're taking the anti-rejection medication, that carries its own potential side effects. So, I've not heard of any sort of meaningful amount of hair being moved that survived ever, and I don't think it's something that anyone can say with any sort of authority that half of it would grow or a percentage would grow. They don't know unless they've actually tried it. And I don't like these kinds of comments because it gives people false hope. It gives people a false impression of maybe the doctor that's talking about this as if they actually know what the hell they're talking about. Because as far as I'm concerned, they don't. It's all conjecture.
Well said,
So
Joseph.
there's no,
Thank you.
but I do understand that in identical twins it would work. Is that correct?
They've tried it. It's also failed in one case that I'm aware of. It failed, and it was successful in another case that I'm aware of. So yeah, there's a potential for sure.
But I gotta congratulate this cat who writes Hairloss 2020. I mean, this guy is brilliant. I don't know his name or anything about it, but I know I know he's a associate of yours, Spencer. Am I correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's a trusted content creator of the American Hair Loss Association, one of a handful, and we're growing that program. We want consumers to understand not only what's real out there, but what could potentially be valuable. What I like about what he does is he just puts the information out there. He does it in a very professional, like old school journalistic way. And he lets people just, see that this information is available. Mm-hmm. He's not making any, providing any personal opinion that I'm aware of as far as whether or not this is the future. Maybe a little bit, sometimes. Joe said. Yeah. But in general, there's no biases. And this guy, when he started this site, is just interested in helping himself and getting the information out there for others who are, in the same position he was in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's great. For years I kind of resisted. For a short time, we had it on, the old message forum, which Joe doesn't believe it, but it is being revamped. But it really caused a lot of strife, a lot of just ugliness and anger and just stuff that, when you read the way people act towards each other online, especially when it comes to, agreeing or disagreeing or, bro science aspect of this field, it always made me feel extremely uncomfortable, and I felt it was a real waste of time, especially for, I would say, the vast majority of young guys who just wanted to get some help, just wanted to know exactly what was going on currently so they could possibly help themselves or at least make a better informed decision. But once these guys go down these rabbit holes, sometimes it just becomes an obsession, and many times it becomes an unhealthy obsession. Mm-hmm. And it causes them a lot of stress.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, and I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want to facilitate that. And I got a lot of shit for not allowing that, for kind of essentially removing that section, which was the busiest section at the time. That's when the forum really just exploded. So most people, all they want is clicks. All they want is traffic. They're just trying to sell their forum to hair transplant surgeons. I was never in that position. That forum was not sponsored by anybody. Except for me. So.
You're talking about Hairloss 2020?
Say that again?
You're talking about Hairloss 2020?
No, I was talking about Bald Truth Talk. I was talking about my forum.
Oh.
But Hairloss 2020, yeah, I mean, he has sponsors, of course. He's got to survive. But he provides this type of information about the potential of future treatments, I think, in a very palatable and professional way. Mm-hmm.
He's been around long enough to where he knows what he's talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he is smart.
He doesn't give anybody false hope. He just lays it out. He just lays it out.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. He's a good dude.
He doesn't give anybody false hope. He just makes a clinical diagnosis. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't say. He just presents the facts. In an unbiased fashion.
Pretty much.
So before I go, let me congratulate this gentleman. I don't know his name. I don't know if I'm allowed to know his name, but just say, I just want him to know if he's that I think he's fantastic.
Well, I don't know if
he goes by.
I look forward to. So what?
He goes by Anand, and you can refer to him as such. And
as a what?
If he's not,
goes by as what?
Anand.
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 Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you mean? Oh, the way you sound like you're let down that it wasn't David or Bob or something.
That's a very unusual name, I must say so.
It depends on the communities that you run in, but yeah, it's he's a good guy, and if he's not listening, I'll make sure that he gets word of your commentary and your compliments. I'm sure he'll be appreciative.
When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I go to, of course, is thebaldtruth.com. I mean, that's my initial.
That's really nice of you, but there's nothing on there.
Well,
I haven't updated. I didn't even put podcasts up. Joe kills me.
Well,
I'm not going to say since the Civil War because it was updated maybe about 6 months ago to some degree. But
I get to see two good looking faces to start off my day.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you for including Joe.
And Spencer, don't read into that too much. if you know what I mean. I know you guys got to go, but I have a major announcement for you guys. Bald Jerry will be coming to New York soon. My dear friend Bald Jerry will possibly be hooking up, which will be you know, I'm trying to say we'll be hooking up.
Dude, you need to go to 11th Avenue and go to one of those chicks with cranks bars. I don't know if you could say that anymore, but that's what they used to be called.
Yeah, well, you used to go to those bars, Spencer?
My dad had a little. I wouldn't even call it a factory. It was maybe the whole thing was like 800 square feet. And as I think I've told you guys, I was a skilled laborer as a child, worked with my dad in the garment industry. And it was right on 29th Street and right down the block. And I was a kid. There was a place called, I think it was called Idlewise. And it was a transvestite / transsexual bar. And they had like shows and stuff like that. And I would just see all these people hanging out. And, you know, I would work very late, even as a kid, like, 14, 15 years old. And these people knew me, and they, I was friendly with these guys. So to answer your question, I never went in because I was too young. But I used to hang out with these guys, girls, whatever. And they were just cool people. They were very, very nice to me.
Well, you're a nice guy. People could do what they want, in my opinion. We don't have no room for prejudice in our community. Am I correct, Spencer?
That's the way that I feel. Unfortunately, the world sees anything as prejudice these days. I think even saying chick with cranks could be misconstrued.
What way could it be misconstrued?
I don't know why.
It's a fact.
It is a fact. It is a fact, but I don't know if you're allowed to say that they have penises.
Well, the government, as you know, the United States government under this administration promotes this type of thing, transsexualism. They encourage young children, as you're aware of that, to take hormones. Are you aware of this, Spencer?
I am aware of it, but Joe is getting a little cringy about discussing it on his YouTube channel.
Okay. Yes. All right. So I'll conclude. I'll let you guys go, and I'll say, God bless Spencer. God bless Joe Tillman. God bless Bald Jerry, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you guys soon. Spencer, stay off 11th Avenue. No, we'll have to go to 11th Avenue. Yeah, we'll keep that in mind. I'll call Bald Jerry. We'll keep that in mind.
I didn't even know if it's still 11th Avenue, but there's certainly a lot of places that you boys can go.
Okay.
All right, brother.
I think we're too interested in that. Thank you, man.
All right, take
God
care.
Bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Joe. Bye-bye.
Joe loves a chick with a good crank.
Yes, he does.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Mike from Las Vegas.
Mike from Las Vegas. How are you, man?
Hey, I wanted to call in and tell you about my experience. You guys are kind enough to coach me through. I think I called in about 2 or 3 times before I got my procedure.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Okay.
So I ended up going to Bulgaria with Dr. Zarev.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was back in January, so I'm sitting at about 7 months now, and probably the best case scenario. Just really good, strong early growth, kind of all over. I've been very pleased with the result right now. Initially, when I called in, I was, having second thoughts and third thoughts, and you guys, were really, really helpful in my decision-making process as far as, evaluating the criteria for each surgeon. So I just wanted to call in and say thanks, and that things are going really awesome so far.
Well, first of all, I'm really happy for you. I think it's, like we said, and a lot of people call about Dr. Zarev, and, we get countless requests for information about the guy. The guy's like a machine. The guy is, he's in great shape. He understands that he needs to do all the work, if not most of the work himself. He knows every aspect of the surgery. I don't think he fully understands, I don't think he fully understands what we stand for here at the Bald Truth and the IHRS, and so, to some degree. Like, I am not a super fan of super large cases for very young people, but if you're going to do it, this is the guy to get it done by. And he's just incredibly meticulous. He's a surgeon, and I have not seen anybody, at least in the last 2 years or so, I don't know how long he's been with us, that's had a unsatisfactory result. How many grafts did you have done?
It was 8,300 grafts.
That is a lot. How old are you?
Session. So it was two. It was, I think the first surgical day was 13 hours. The second surgical day was 15 hours. So the first day we went till 1 a.m. The second day we went till 3 a.m.
How much was it?
It was wild. The grafts, it was 8,300.
And what was the cost to you?
Oh, it was $28,000.
$28,000. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So how old are you?
I'm 40.
Okay. You're not a kid.
All right.
So I think that's reasonable, for sure. And I think that you're seeing early growth. I think you're going to be happy for a long time.
You said you're at 7 months now. So you saw early growth. What's the growth like now at 7 months?
It's great. Yeah. At 5 months, I was walking about. I was doing a little bit of topic in the crown. I just recently did like a very short kind of skin fade, and so it's still a tad thin in this crown, but it kind of matches with the rest of the hair. So I don't really do the fibers, and the front has just grown just so
and
big.
Your Norwood level was what? Were you a 5 or a 6? Where were you?
Yeah, I was a pretty deep 6. I've been a 6 for about a decade.
Okay.
I think it was
all right. So this is going to be absolutely life changing for you. If it already has been, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely life changing. I did a hairpiece. I did a wig for about 10, 12 years, and that the ugly duckling, that 2-3 month phase was was pretty shocking, but it's coming great.
Now,
the doctor.
Are you planning on going for a second visit to Bulgaria to fill in the back if it's not to your complete satisfaction, or do you think that you're done? You got out alive and you're happy, and you just want to count your blessings and move on? Is that which is it?
It's not that easy, Joe. I've been hair greed. Like so in the surgical plan, he wants to do an additional 2,000 grafts. That will be a lot of crown, mid scalp, really just reinforcing the hairline. That was kind of the plan from the beginning. As it's getting thicker and thicker, I'm open to not necessarily going to do that. Of course, the other thing is I'm kind of thinking about, would I want the hairline to be a bit lower? It's moving that many grafts. His initial concern was, there's just not enough resources to get the hairline where I wanted. As time goes on, I'm kind of feeling more comfortable with it, and so I may not end up doing that. But the plan right now is, end of October, I'm going to go back for 2000.
I think initially
the thing about the hairline, it's a luxury at this point, because your crown, like the fact that you got enough coverage into your crown where you're at 7 months saying it's a little thin, that's a huge win, dude. And it means that a hairline lowering, which is what you were hoping for, lower than what you have now. That's a luxury, not a necessity, because now you're covered. So maybe in the future that is in your cards.
I also think just given the fact that you're wearing a piece for a decade, you were used to probably a slightly lower hairline, slightly more density. So the first few months, it flips you out a little bit because you're used to seeing yourself a certain way.
Yeah, exactly. It was artificially low, and he commented on it when I went in there. He said, "Look, there's the way you wear that now. It's like you look like a 16-year-old kid. Like there's no way we could get to look like that, and you don't want it to look like that, especially as you're getting into your 40s. It's just going to look unnatural." And so we agreed. But I don't know. Maybe if there's some middle ground, maybe that's a possibility.
Well, listen. Here's the good news. At least according to him, you have more resources to work with. And you can make a choice. I mean, what's going to be more important to you? If you decide to get more work done, will it be more important to you to strengthen and possibly lower your hairline a little bit or throw them into the crown? I would say most people would choose to create the frame to their face that they really are hoping for. But you may end up after 12 months realizing, shit, I don't need anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't waste grafts in the crown if you're feeling like the crown is okay right now. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Joe.
I agree. I think that first off, you got more development to go. 7 months is you had what you think is early growth. It still doesn't mean that you're done at 7 months. Like you got more time to go, and I think that if you're able to get away with, like you said at the beginning of the call, a little bit of topic, you win, dude. You're done. Like that's an amazing position to be in. Most guys would give their left leg to be able to be in your position in one shot, in one surgery. So I look at it like this. If you move forward and at the end of the day, say 14, 15, 16 months out, you still say to yourself, I'd like to have a little bit more. That little bit more isn't worth hopping on a plane, flying halfway around the world, paying top dollar, and still having the possibility of it maybe not quite growing the way that you wanted to, and then you feeling like, oh, shit, I wasted my, all these things can still happen. You had a great first experience, but the bad second experience happens to all these doctors. And the caveats still apply that no matter what you've learned, researched, experienced, failures can still happen. So if you can get through your day with just that little bit of topic or whatever, you got to ask yourself if it's worth that potential downside for that tiny little bit of upside.
And also, here's the good news: the guy's young. He's going to be around for a while. So if you give it a few years and see if you can live with it, he's always going to be there to perform your surgery. All right, dude. Okay. We're not trying to talk you out of anything. We're just trying to give you some perspective, just so that you're prepared.
Keeping you grounded.
Just keeping you grounded.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. That's definitely something to think about.
All right, brother. Listen, congratulations. I'm really happy for you. I'm glad it all worked out. You chose the right surgeon for you, and the fact that you're 40. You were wearing a system for so long. Moving those many grafts is, I think, not a bad move for your stage of life.
Yeah, definitely. Best case scenario, I'm very, very happy with things so far.
Congratulations, man. Awesome. I appreciate the call. And, feel free to call us with any more questions or just any updates.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Awesome. Will do.
All right. Take care.
All right, man.
Take
care.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. Yeah, I'm not even going to say it. Glad that he had a good. I'm glad that he had a good result. I really am. He deserves it.
Yeah.
I mean, dealing with. I'm going to say dealing with a hairpiece. I mean, there's a lot of people who are just totally open about it. They're fine with it. They may find it to be a pain in the ass, but for them, it's the best choice to live wearing hair, especially nowadays when you can kind of just get, relatively inexpensive stuff, use it as a, kind of like a disposable contact lens. If you learn how to finesse it yourself, it can look 100% natural in most cases. I mean, the person really has to have a little bit of skill. They can't just depend on their stylist. That never works out, in my view. If they just depend on their stylist, they are screwed. They have to learn how to do it to some degree themselves. But for a lot of guys, especially in that age range, old, I'm just kidding, I'm 58, it's a great option. But freeing yourself from that option, like he did, and it succeeding, this guy's fucking prayers were answered. And I'm happy for him. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Carlos. I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
Carlos from Washington, D.C. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my question is a very simple and quick one. I'm kind of like a Norwood 3. I'm 49 years old, and I was looking to have my surgery done with this clinic called Feller and Bloxam.
Okay.
They're in a place called Great Neck, New York.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if what you guys, I mean, I've done some solid research on them, and they seem like, I've watched their videos on YouTube and stuff, and they seem like they do some solid work. But I was just wondering if what you guys, like maybe if you or Joe, or what have you guys heard about, the type of clinic that they are. They seem pretty solid. But I was calling to ask for your opinion. My surgery is scheduled for October 13th, and I was just wondering if it's if I'm going the right route with the right doctor. I think I am. I think I feel pretty comfortable with it, but I just want to know your opinion about their work, if you know anything about them.
We know all about them, and I think Joe can provide a really great assessment, and then I'll provide my 2 cents.
Okay.
Well, I assume you're going for a strip surgery?
I am.
Yeah, okay. And I assume it's Dr. Bloxam that's performing the procedure?
He is. Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Dr. Feller does surgery anymore.
Which is what I was segueing into. He's not performed surgery in probably, I forgive me if I get the number wrong, but I think about 4 years, maybe 5. He's not performed surgery. Maybe a few for repeat patients or something, but yeah, he's really
He just checked out and he's flying his helicopter all over the place.
Exactly. Look, Dr. Bloxam's been on the scene now as an actual hair transplant surgeon for about 8 years, and in the beginning, he was on the scene with a bang because it was kind of controversial because he was an admin at a forum, and then while he was going to medical school, and then out of the blue, he's gone from the forum, and then he's working with this with Dr. Feller, and the controversy back then was that how come he's being promoted so much if he's just starting? Like, and it was in my view, it was a perfectly valid question. And when people were asking me about him, my standard response was, he's too green for me to feel good about, putting him in sort of any sort of positive category. But 8 years later, I think he's probably fine. Like, I don't recommend people per se, but I've never dug into his clinic or I've never talked to the guy, but on the surface seems fine. Probably one of the better ones in New York or in the New York area for sure. And I don't recall hearing any real complaints about him either. So I think you're probably in fine hands.
I'll give you my opinion. I think
yeah.
if you're going to have a strip surgery, he learned his craft from someone who learned their craft from the best. So you're in good hands. I would say that, given the fact that he has so much time on tissue. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the clinic's overall philosophy about some things, but when it comes to strip surgery, I think they're doing a really good job. I don't think they're going to steer you in the wrong direction. I have a feeling, I get a sense that this kid is very meticulous and that he absolutely cares about what he's doing. There's some things that I disagree with as far as, how their image is projected online, kind of promoting experimental use of certain medications to, pique people's interest to get them through the door. In my opinion, I don't know if that's why they're doing it. So all that shit to me really, I always look at that with a jaundiced eye. But as far as straight surgery, I don't think you can go wrong. You're willing to have a strip, then I think you made the right decision. Again, every doctor has unhappy patients. That's just the way it is. You have to be prepared for, hope for the best. I think you did your due diligence, but always be prepared for not being completely thrilled. But they have a good track record. How's that?
Hey, no, I appreciate your opinion about this because, as my procedure's getting closer, I kind of start questioning, is this a good idea to do this kind of stuff? But, I've done quite a bit of research, and I have been following them, on their YouTube videos for the past, I would say, at least 3 to 4 years. And, and the results, the way they do, the way they display their results, they put a camera right in front of the person's head where the transplant was done.
Yeah, they learned that from Joseph Tillman.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're doing all those things right. I mean, everything was, essentially, in my view, learned and evolved from what Joe helped Hassan and Wong do, and then what Hassan and Wong did do, and even from the blue backgrounds to just the angles and all that stuff, using cut-to-size blades, all the stuff that...
It's basically as much of a carbon copy of Hassan Wong in New York by one man that you could possibly hope for.
Yeah, and so that's why, I don't know this for sure, but that's why I'm assuming that, Bloxham is doing it the exact same way. So I just can't see... I think getting a strip in New York, you definitely made a good decision.
Okay. Okay. All right. I just want to thank you guys. I respect everything you're doing, trying to help people out, with your knowledge and the experience that you guys have. And, keep up the good work.
All right, brother. Listen, good luck. Let us know
Thanks
how things
so much.
turn out.
Yeah,
Okay,
call back.
thank you
Keep
so
us
much.
updated.
Take care.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Carlos.
888-659-3727. It's so difficult just being nice and being honest with people who, support pure evil in this field. I'm being honest. Sometimes I think, why can't I be more like the other side? The people that doctors like this support.
Yeah.
The pure ugliness that has littered this field. These doctors are all in. But you know what? I'm not going to bullshit this guy. I think he's in good hands. He's probably going to have a great procedure.
Mm-hmm. Most likely.
What a struggle that is emotionally for me. But I still got to do the right thing. 888-659-3727. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hello.
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 Hey, guys. How's it going? This is Jason from New York.
Hey, Jason. What's happening?
Hello,
man?
Jason.
Hey, so this is my second time calling in. I don't remember if you guys recalled the first time. It was back in, I want to say, November of last year. I'd spoken to you guys, Spencer. I remember I'd voiced the opinion that I was kind of reluctant and hesitant to be having my procedure on a December, very close to Christmas, because I was kind of concerned that I might get like a B team staff and all that.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
It does sound familiar, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So ultimately, you guys did kind of put me at ease because, I'd done my research and I had chosen...
Wait a second. You didn't do it around Christmas time, did you? I'm just kidding.
What the hell were you thinking?
Well, it's too late now, right? No, so actually, yeah, I'm calling in. Today is actually literally the eighth month post-op, and I gotta say, I'm actually not super pleased with the way the journey is progressing so far.
Well, let's hear about it. I'm sorry. First of all, I'm sorry to hear that. And it's important that we hear about these cases because the truth is this can happen even in the best hands, and consumers, patients need to know about this. So go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So I initially aired my, like I said, the hesitation about the B team staff, whether or not that actually ended up being the case. It's difficult to say, right?
Where'd you go?
So I went to SMG, Shapiro Medical Group.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, great experience. Obviously, everyone there was great. Dr. Josephitis was my doctor, so it was only him who operated on me.
I want to cut you off for a second, and I hope just take this in the spirit that it's meant, and I just want other people just to hear this. I hear so many people who talk about what a great experience they had during the day of surgery or even right after surgery or before surgery. And I think new patients sometimes really put a lot of weight on that when they're considering their equation. It's important to have a nice experience, but in the end, that's one of the more meaningless aspects, I think, of your result. You don't want to have a shitty experience, but, most of these people are going to be nice during the day of surgery. That's just the way it is. You can have a nice lunch. Everyone's going to be kind. Everyone's going to make you feel comfortable. That's the way it works until it doesn't. And I'm not saying that just about Shapiro Medical. That's everybody. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Right, yeah. And I completely agree because after I did have my procedure, I had some, a few folks ask me about it and whether or not I'd recommend it. And I did tell them, I said, look, listen, I had a great experience there, but ultimately in the end, it boils down to the results. So I can't really give you any recommendations yet per se. All I can go off of is
That's
how
very fair.
the experience was. And ultimately you'll have to ask me in a year, and then I can accurately assess whether or not I could recommend them. But that being said, I had very realistic expectations going into this. For my particular case, it's just mainly the frontal third that has thinned out significantly. And so I'm currently 36 now. I wanted to get a procedure since my mid-20s. So I wanted to wait to ensure that the trajectory of any further hair loss was taken into account. And I thought when I did pull the trigger, it was the perfect timing. And given the pattern of the hair loss, which, like I said, is primarily confined to the frontal third, where it was just very, very thin, I thought that this would have been a one-and-done procedure. And as I'm in the 8-month mark and I'm seeing the results for what they are, it's starting to, or it has dawned on me that this might not be the one and done that I was hoping for, and that I will likely have to get another one down the line. So part of the reason I'm calling is wondering at what point, how soon is too soon before considering a second procedure after the first one? Because for me, I probably wouldn't consider having a touch-up or anything like that until probably October or November of 2024.
Well, I'm gonna let Joe has more intimate knowledge about the current staff and the team, or the overall team over at Shapiro Medical. I have never, Dr. Josephitis has never applied to the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. I have not had, real intimate access to his particular work over the years. Obviously, I've known Ron Shapiro for many years, and Ron was one of the OGs when it came to providing truly natural hair transplant results. And I know that Josephitis obviously trained under Ron. But currently, Ron is really the only accepted member into the IHRS. So I can't tell you. I don't know exactly how much of the procedure Josephitis is involved in. I don't know how much of the procedure their techs are involved in when he's performing the surgery. Maybe Joe could answer that and speak to that. I'm not sure. And maybe you can kind of give us a little bit of insight into what happened during your day, your surgical day. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, sure.
Assuming you had FUE, that's what you had with Dr. Josephitis, right? Or did you have a strip?
Correct. It was FUE.
Okay, yeah. Well, he's usually the one doing the procedure with just technicians there to assist with some of the extraction, but he's doing the scoring and a lot of the extraction himself. Was that not the case for you?
No, that's precisely the case. Yeah, it was him doing the extractions, and then with one tech during the extraction phase, and then the next day when I went in for the incisions and the implantations. That was, excuse me. The first day was when all the incisions were made. The second day was when the extractions and then the implantations were made. All of which, as far as I could tell, the incisions were all done by Dr. Joe, and then the and then the extractions were also all done by Dr. Joe, with the implantations done by the team of techs.
Right. Yeah. And, it leaves very little room for error based on what your initial concerns were with regards to the B team and things like this. It sounds like it's just a typical on-point, A-game type of procedure that we'd expect from Dr. Josephitis and Shapiro Medical. But to get to your specific question, there's actually two answers. And it depends on who we're talking to, and I'm speaking in generalities here. So, if someone has a hair transplant and say they're Norwood 6 and they do the front, and then we'll go back to address the second half in the back, they can go in and depending on how soon the donor area heals, but usually 6 to 8 months depending on the kind of procedure. But in your case, You're talking about going back into the original playing field to thicken up what you think at this point is, I'm assuming, subpar growth. Is that what you're?
Well,
is that what you think you're dealing with right now?
Yeah, and ultimately, I did speak with Dr. Joe about my progress thus far on Tuesday, and according to him, based on the photos that I did supply to him, he did say that I'm on track. But given where I am in terms of just progress, especially, since I'm kind of further down the line and there's about 4 months left before the year mark, it's just like the frontal hairline is still very thin and sparse looking. And so none of the original concerns that I had prior to my procedure have been really addressed, in which, like I said, it's still thin and I'm still styling my hair in the same way.
So you're on, is he saying you're on track to come in and have another procedure? Is that what he means by on track, or is he? Are you on track, given your concerns and what your expectations were?
On track can mean anything.
Yeah.
You're on track to give me more money.
No, you're on track to pay more of my bills.
I think your interpretation may be correct, but no, Dr. Joe obviously meant progress, that I'm on track in terms of where it should be and where it could potentially go. I'm on track progress-wise.
I just want to let everyone know, I could be very cynical. I know this industry like the back of my hand. I've only met Dr. Josephitis once or twice, I think. He's very nice, obviously, and he comes highly recommended. But like I said, he's never even applied to the IHRS. So all I know is, the only thing I know about his skill set or anything about him is through Ron. And I think, Joe has said some great things about him as well. So I have no clue. But even if everything was done right, and it probably was, this is not something that is just happening to you in this field. In the best hands, people come out and they're disappointed with the results. So give us a little bit more specifics about not just some of, why you're disappointed, not just, that it hasn't met your expectations yet, but do you see anything really specific where you really believe that this procedure will never meet your expectations?
Well, before you answer that, sorry, let me insert a specific question. Were you bald before you had surgery, or were you thinning only in the areas where the procedure was performed?
Right. So to get into that, and I think I know where you're going, probably with shock loss and all that, is so my frontal third prior to the procedure was very, very thin in terms of coverage. I think I would say what I had there probably was 10% coverage, right? It was all very see-through. Like if I wore my hair up, like it would be clear that I was thinning in the front. So the hairs that were there at the time, it didn't really provide anything in terms of an illusion. So
okay. And what kind of hair? What kind of hair is your donor hair? Is it fine? Is it coarse? Is it dark?
Yeah,
is it light?
So I am Asian, and I understand that that's a factor as well, because like with Asian hair, typically there's less follicle counts, and I want to say the hair typically is thicker looking though. But in terms of my donor area, I'd say it's fine. There's nothing out of the ordinary, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. That's okay. This is starting to make a lot more sense to me. And but before I continue, go ahead and answer Spencer's question to talk more about your case leading into this.
Sure. Spencer, I'm sorry. What specifically was your question again?
I have no idea, really. I forgot totally. Joe just threw the whole thing off track.
In that case, all right. So talking about, so that's going into the surgery. So talking about your position now, 8 months post-op. Okay. Well, actually, this is part of Spencer's question. He was asking what makes you think it's not where it needs to be at this point. And my specific take on that is, you said that your hairstyle now is no different than it was before going into the surgery, where you then later said that you had maybe 10% coverage. So this is really interesting. What is it now that makes you think that it's behind schedule?
Like for me, I would describe what I like where it's at now as a marginal improvement. Like for sure, there's better coverage, I want to say, but that illusion of density is just like given the track record I'm seeing it's on, I just don't foresee it getting to the point where that illusion is satisfactory. Like it's just very thin and sparse looking still.
Okay. Are there any? Would you say there's any sort of gaps in the area of placement or the transplant, or is it just generally? Would you say it's a fairly even distribution of thinness?
I'd say it's a fairly even distribution of thinness. However, the one caveat is like the right side of the hairline is a bit better, but on a whole, it's like on the left side of the hairline, there's like one spot that's just visibly bare, and not sure if the graft just didn't take there, because I can't imagine that the hairline was designed in a way that there would be a blatant gap in the very front of the hairline. So ultimately, I'm kind of unsure if whether or not there was poor yield and or like there was shock loss of the original native hairs that kind of contributed to it continue to looking sparse and thin.
And with that said, we're going to segue into the medical question. Have you been on finasteride or dutasteride or anything before, during, and after your surgery?
Yeah, so prior to the my procedure, I did hop on finasteride. I did.
How long before your procedure?
A year beforehand.
Okay. Good. Good. And you saw results from that of a positive or negative nature?
I think ultimately it kind of just held on to whatever was there, like it just retained. I can't say there was any visible improvements, but that being said, I did start developing negative sides. I want to say about 6 months in. So once that happened, I kind of hopped off to let it cycle out of the system, but I didn't want to give up on Finn, just because I know that's like ultimately the kind of end all be all in terms of maintaining what I do currently have. And so if I can kind of hold it off from a medical intervention standpoint, I would prefer that. And so ultimately it's been kind of like on and off with finasteride. Like I'm back on it now, but I've titrated the dosage to just like I'm taking a quarter pill every other day, because the prior regimen I was on like 3 milligrams a week, and even then that was giving me sides. So, but yeah, I am currently on.
So how much every other day? A quarter tablet of Propecia or quarter tablet of Proscar?
I'm taking. Let me see here. I'm taking like the generic version of finasteride. So let's see.
5 milligram though, right?
It's a 1 milligram tablet.
Oh. Okay. All right. And this transition happened about 6 months before your actual surgery.
Correct.
Okay. And since your surgery, have you changed anything about your medical intake?
Yeah, since the surgery, I've now like I said, I've quartered those pills, and I'm taking them every other day.
Okay. So over the course of a week and a half, you're taking about a full milligram of finasteride, just under a week and a half.
I'd say within the week, it's usually the 1 milligram
every other day. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So that's a milligram. Okay. All right. So this is interesting, and for those of you watching and listening, I hope that you understood or you'll see my methodology with this. So what I'm seeing here,
I'm still trying to figure that out.
You answered your questions great, and I really appreciate that. So first and foremost, you're early. It is 8 months. Sorry, I want one last question. How many grafts did you have, and what area were they placed in?
So I ultimately ended up with, I want to say 2,309 grafts. When I was still, pre-op, and just like kind of trying to find other clinics, I was usually getting quoted around like 2,500 to 2,700. So ultimately I was kind of surprised that we came in under. It kind of made me feel better, thinking that like my situation probably wasn't as bad, that I didn't require as many grafts. But looking back now, and even in my conversation that I had with Dr. Joe on Tuesday, he kind of conceded that, like, oh, maybe I was a bit conservative with the graft count. Like maybe we should have done a little more.
Okay.
So ultimately, that's where we landed. So, but that said,
and what size area though?
So the donor area was mainly the back of my scalp, with some coming from like the sides, from the left and right.
I'm talking about the recipient. What size area were the grafts placed in? What the area of loss, of balding?
I hope I'm answering your question correctly, but it was primarily just the frontal third, Joe. So it was just like the frontal hairline, and then like in the back,
and then to the mid scalp, basically.
Yeah, because my crown is holding up quite well so far. It's just like I said, it's mainly the third one.
So you were maybe about a 3A or a 4A on the hair loss scale. Does that sound about right?
Yep. That sounds like a good.
So here's a situation. It sounds to me like Dr. Joe maybe was a bit conservative on the placement. And sorry, I'm getting an echo. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm hearing myself. About a 1.5 second delay. Anyway, I'll try to carry on.
I don't know how that's possible because my mic was off.
Oh, let's try now. Test 1, 2. Much better. Okay, it's cured. All right. So, and thank you for answering my questions. This really helps. So, the way I look at it, and full disclosure, full admission here, I have no idea what you look like. This is all, obviously just you telling me the details. That's why I'm asking so many detailed questions. You did a great job at answering them. You got a couple things going on. Number one, your medical usage is all over the place. You've been consistent for 8 months with a very low dosage, but you're not really sure if that's doing what you need it to do because you started that around the time of the surgery, so you don't have enough time to see if that's maintaining your native hair that you had before the surgery. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so there could be, and all these are just possible scenarios, not absolutes, but you could be in a situation where some of your native hair is thinned out, causing what you see as a disappointing outcome. The second thing I noted is you're talking about, and I asked you about this, is the growth or the area of placement. It doesn't look like there's any sort of specific areas other than that one spot in the hairline where there's like gaps or areas of where it's kind of clear. It's kind of consistent throughout, again, except for that one spot, but that one spot doesn't convey the overall issue. So in my experience, if there's going to be a failure of growth, it will be exactly like you just noted in that one spot of the hairline where you said something to the effect of maybe it didn't take. That's usually how it works. It's not an even distribution, like every 4 hairs doesn't grow because of whatever. It's usually a spot over here didn't grow because maybe they're placed too close together, or maybe the technician was, their wrist was a little bit cramped up and they were kind of squeezing the forceps a bit too much or wrong, and a few grafts went in there that were kind of damaged and they didn't come through great. It could be that if you saw that kind of issue, again, like you're talking about in your hairline. So that spot in the hairline, it might very well be that type of situation. But we're talking about the bigger picture with all the placements. So the other issue is, maybe Dr. Joe did not put enough grafts in there. And if he conceded that, then, okay, fair enough. It doesn't mean that there's a poor growth situation. It just means you need more hair. But ultimately, you also we're talking about how your hair is kind of fine. And because you're Asian, and I'm not going to ask for the specific background or specific type of Asian, but Asians in general, that's East Asians and Southeast Asians, usually have a considerable number of more singles naturally than Caucasians and other non-Asians. So,
and I think you're allowed to say that, Joe, because this is a medical situation.
Thank you.
No, just in case you're on YouTube. Just want to put that out there.
All right. Like the support.
Yeah.
So you have a few potential reasons for this situation. None of which sound like it's an actual failure of the surgery. It sounds like there is a potential issue going with your medical intake. It may not be enough. It's a legitimate concern. Like your native hair may have thinned out some because of your medication just not being enough. But then there's the issue of potential expectation shortfalls. And God, I'm hearing myself again.
You got to figure that out, dude.
There we go. No, it's still coming back. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, and just playing devil's advocate, it could be an issue of expectations. I don't know what your expectations were. I'm not saying they're on point or not. But if the clinic thinks that your expectations were reasonable, then they're probably reasonable. But I think that at this point, ultimately, the answer is you do need to give it more time. It deserves more time to do what it's going to do, because 8 months, that's not the end of the road. Don't be influenced by the quote unquote early growers and think that that's normal, because it's not. your result, you need to give it 14 months before you actually come to a final decision. And then at that point, that's actually a saved time to actually consider another surgery if you need it or if you want it.
Yeah, I want to say I like where I'm at now, and even when I spoke with Dr. Joe, I did make it clear, like, I understand that there is still time on the table. So for me to definitively make any type of assessments about, like, oh, this is awful, et cetera, I knew going in that wasn't the case, and I did preface that, like, I understand it. There's still time that it can turn around, but just given where it's at and how much time is left on the table, I just don't foresee it coming out or turning out in a way where it does satisfy me in the end, because I like, in the same way that you can call a good transplant early on when you see all the signs of it. I just feel like for this one, it's like, I just don't see it being a home run. And it's certainly not a case where I would foresee them wanting to, like, showcase as one of their best,
Well, here's what I could say, just from what I've learned from this conversation and listening to you. A, you seem to be you definitely did your due diligence. You seem to have a really good grasp and understanding of realistic expectations. The fact that you understand the nuances of working with Asian hair on light skin and everything that you mentioned, and just the way that you've conducted yourself during this phone call. So I would say that the realistic expectation aspect of things, Joe, in the equation is kind of off the table. I think that this guy seems to he kind of knew what to expect every step of the way.
Right. And to that point, actually, like, I do have, like, my like, I've been keeping track of my progress every month. And to that point, the folks that are commenting, they're completely objective. I don't know them. They don't know me. I'm just a stranger on the internet. And they've even chimed in saying, like, this isn't looking like it's going to be a winner. Like, you should be further along, given the time frame, and especially with the clinic that you've chosen, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just me. There are other.
I would say it's more important that it is just you, and forget about everyone else's commentary. That's how I feel.
Yeah, about it. And let me just say something about people online.
Fucking peanut gallery, man.
There are more misinformed people making comments about hair transplant surgery online today than any time in history. Like, the way that standards have evolved as far as expectation, and I'm not talking about you, I'm just talking about people in general on forums or what have you, or Facebook groups or Reddit or whatever. They think that it's normal for results to come in at 3 months, and they think that if it's anything less than thick as fuck, TAF, then it's a failure. So I just got to get that out there. I don't put any stock in what other people say, anonymous people. Because of that fact, there are way too many people that expect that kind of outcome, and I'm not saying you do. Just again, just want to be clear about that. But don't put stock in what other people say. Anonymous persons mean nothing. You've done your research, and you understand, assuming you understand the proper path and trajectory, and don't let other anonymous persons make your assessment worse than what it needs to be. I hope that makes sense, and I just want to make sure that you don't get unduly influenced by people that don't have your best interests in mind.
No, I completely understand that, and to be completely objective and fair, and to play devil's advocate, I will say these folks on this forum that I'm on, for the most part, I've looked into their post history and all that, and things they've said in the past. I would say these people aren't misinformed or anything. These are their opinions, and they're substantiated with with how they phrase things and back it up. So they're not just like some random trolls who only have one or two comments here or there. But no, I do agree. Yeah. I'm not going, like, my feelings about this aren't derived based on what all these other folks have said. Like, this is me and how I feel, and ultimately I feel like I'm coming from an objective place, because these folks who I don't know and they don't know me, they're essentially kind of echoing my sentiments.
Yeah.
Listen, and I get that, and I think what Joe said is very appropriate. And my whole thing is, you never listen to the peanut gallery, but I also understand that, if you've done your research and you think that the peanut gallery, that these people who are out there spending a lot of time online providing information about hair transplant surgery, who may not be in the field or who just have experience on the forums, some of these guys, they've taken a time to see a lot of work. However, I think you are the best judge, and that's why I said I think you did your due diligence. You have realistic expectations, and I think being disappointed at 8 months, while everyone always says, well, that's still early days. That is a point of concern. I would feel the same way. But it's not over until it's over. And that's something that I think, you may not foresee having the results that you were hoping for, but you never know at this point. And that's reality. Yeah. I am sure that you've seen, since you spend time in the forums, the guys who are upset at 7 or 8 months or not completely thrilled, all of a sudden there's always the few cases that come out and they're like, oh, I didn't realize that I was going to get so much growth during month 9 and month 10. Mm-hmm. It exists. It happens. So it's not like that possibility doesn't exist for you. I just want you to know that.
Right. Yeah, and part of me is still hoping that this turns the corner, obviously. Like, I would love a miracle, but at this point, at 8 months, I just can't foresee it turning the corner to the point where it would ultimately be a miracle, in my opinion.
Well, listen, I wish you the best of luck. I want you to keep us informed. I'm sorry that at this stage you are not thrilled with your procedure or not even satisfied the way you thought you would be at 8 months. I think that this is a prime example of this could happen at any clinic to any patient, no matter how much research they've done. This is always a possibility when you're having cosmetic surgery. That's just the sad reality of going down this route. And that's why, to me, I try to talk people out of surgery. That's why, there are still doctors, still to this day, who don't understand it when they listen to the show, especially since I have an organization of hair transplant surgeons. They don't get why I'm like, look, surgery is a last resort. Anything can happen. But if you're going to have surgery, at least give yourself a fighting chance and start your research here.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening to all that, and I will absolutely give you guys an update down the line for sure.
Please do. My fingers are crossed. You never know. You may be happy in a few months. I hope that you are.
Yeah. Good luck with it.
Well, TBD. All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. I mean, this confirmation bias that you get online.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's just, I'm not saying I don't want to say it's infuriating. I think there are some helpful people out there who they want to help guide people. Whatever it is, they've decided to take on this role on the internet.
Yeah. It's far too easy for someone to be sitting at a computer and then a new case pop up where a guy says, I don't know, guys, I'm not sure about this, for them to say, oh yeah, it's dog shit. Like it's too easy for them to just throw out a negative comment. Maybe not so extreme, but something that helps to feed the
confirmation bias.
Feed the cortisol.
Yeah.
Helps to feed the cortisol development and or production. I just don't like it, and I understand where the caller is coming from. Where he's done his he'll look into the background and posting history. Respectfully, that still doesn't mean much because if they're consistent with their misinformation, it's still misinformation. But that's just my opinion on
it.
And
that's
from
the
myself.
Truth. I think the worst thing any
20
hair transplant patient can do is have a hair transplant and go back to the forums.
Yeah.
They should not even look at a forum for at least a year.
Ultimately, that's exactly what we should have said at the time.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have a surgery, so why do you want to go online and have anonymous person's comment either one way or the other, positive or negative? It doesn't change the eventual outcome.
Honestly, man, the whole hair loss, hair transplant message forum business model has always bugged the shit out of me, man.
I mean, how many times have you and I, and others in our association, been approached by people saying, "I had a hair transplant and then I found you"?
Oh yeah,
it's like, countless times, and it's the same thing. It's like I had a hair transplant and then I decided to go onto the forums, and then I realized I made a mistake, or then I started getting doubts because people were saying I should be thinking this or thinking that. It's just,
dude. That's why
terrible sometimes.
To this day, when and it usually happens with Europeans or people from other parts of the world, they contact us and they're like, "I would like to sponsor your forum." I'm like, "I am sorry, we don't accept we don't accept sponsorships to our forum, and you have to send this application through the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons to possibly, be accepted as a member." It's like they're like, "Okay, but I get to sponsor the forum too." No, you're not sponsoring the forum, whether you exist or not. I should say the IHRS and this forum is completely separate. That's why I haven't even spent any time with it. I just got sick of it. And I see so many people being misled by anonymous people on message forums or by moderators or whatever. I can't deal with it. It's not something that I want to be involved in. Now, even though, we're still dealing with spam and we haven't, even the upgrade has been done on the back end, we haven't made that public. I'm still like, do I flip that switch again? Do I allow this shit to happen again? Because it's still getting traffic. Do we make this happen? Is it possible to kind of reinvent the wheel in this space and make it even safer than we were trying to make it before? I don't know, because in general, the people that utilize message forums or other platforms like Reddit and now Facebook pages or whatever, they kind of they enjoy the controversy. That's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they enjoy going down the rabbit holes, and it could be incredibly discouraging and confusing and depressing for a large segment of the population who just wants help.
Yeah.
So I'm torn. I really am. But when these guys ask me to sponsor the forum, basically like, listen, I don't even want you to apply to the IHRS. I don't want anything to do. There's other forums you could sponsor. They'd be glad to take your money. No problem.
And they will.
Glad to take your money. They'd be like, "Oh, you want to sponsor the forum? Great. Send us some work. We're going to put it out there. Everyone's going to say, yes, we accept this guy to be a part of things, and you will be part of the forums." It's as easy as that.
Mm-hmm.
I see a little dog in the background. 888-659-3727. We still have some time. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, this is Andre from...
So we just lost you, man.
Andre from
can you hear me?
Hey, man.
From Romania, can you hear me?
Kind of. You're breaking up.
Andre from Romania.
Yeah, you might remember me.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Can you guys hear me now?
You're kind of low. Let me see if I can bring up your sound a little bit. Go ahead.
He's calling from the Tate compound.
Yeah. Just worrying about my brother Andrew Tate.
Yeah. So what's going on, man?
I think he'll be just fine.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Is it better?
Yes.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, because I remember one time that I called I think Joe said that I called from Skype, but I didn't. Might be because it's an international call or something, and I could hear myself afterwards, and I understand why the phone call didn't went that well.
Well,
Just-
it sounds pretty good now. So what's up, man? What can we do for you?
Okay, that's good. Well, I'm kind of like new to this. Like I'm 24. I'll be 25 this year, and I'm thinking of getting a hair transplant.
You're new to the earth.
And sorry?
You're new to the world. You're 24 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started losing my hair about 10 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that.
Sorry
when I was in my meat. Yeah, and now I'm a Norwood 3, and I started treatment when I was around 18 or 19. One thing that I want to ask is if it's I see that a lot of people don't talk about FUT anymore, but what's going on? Is it disappearing? Like, what's happening with the whole FUT? Everybody's talking about FUE right now.
Yeah, the market was a narrative was created that the market, uneducated or uninformed consumers essentially drove the market. Once there was a narrative created that we can provide you with a scarless, in quotes, surgery, no linear scar needed, no suturing, no scalpels, and everyone was like, that's what I want. And then there were a handful of doctors that saw the opportunity early on, and everyone demonized the strip. And that's very unfortunate because it's destroyed the possibility for most people to have a really great hair transplant. I mean, people who are possibly in your position, who are, destined to be extreme Norwards.
That's what I thought of, because I think it might be a better success rate with the FUT other than FUE.
Well, let's put it this way.
In my case.
In 2002, 2003, 2004, maybe up to about 2007, there was a logical endpoint where if you were going to a good clinic, you were having a good strip, hair transplant results were basically undetectable. I mean, the average person would never be able to see them. That has completely shifted. Now we are back to the semi-Ken doll, not to exploit the Barbie movie, Ken doll appearing hair transplants. I see that in Los Angeles. I see it here in Beverly Hills from well-heeled people walking around with, I mean, you could see them from, 100 paces away that they had a hair transplant. This is the new normal.
So, how should I say? Because, like I said, I lost my hair so early. A part of it, then again, I wouldn't mind having an FUT. I wouldn't mind having a scar in the back of my head. But I really can't find any FUT doctors that would perform that, at least in Turkey, because Turkey is very close to me and it's kind of cheap. Obviously, I'd rather not have a hair transplant that is going to be bad. So it's a mix of price and quality. Because then again, if someone is going to give me a hair transplant and it's going to be bad, even if it's for free, I wouldn't do it.
Of course,
just because I know I would have.
Of course.
Yeah, I would. I'll have to.
What's your? You say you've been losing hair since for the past 10 years. What's your level of hair loss?
Norwood 3.
Norwood
3. Okay. Okay.
Norwood 3. I don't have any problems at the crown. Never did. Just a receded hairline. Recently, I started taking dutasteride. I've been on finasteride since I believe it was when I was 20. When I was 18 or 19. It was minoxidil. But then I got lazy on minoxidil, and then I started losing hair. I was a hyper responder to minoxidil. I was back to a Norwood 1 back then, even though I was a Norwood 2. So, but then I got lazy on it because it takes 4 hours to dry twice a day. So I just stuck with I've been stuck with the finasteride, which I know this sounds odd, but when I started finasteride, I started taking 2.5 milligrams because I got a Proscar pill and I cut it in half.
Right.
I mean, it's not odd. I mean, people do that. And when I started taking finasteride, I started taking 5 milligrams. So.
Oh yeah. I heard that it happened back in the 90s.
That's correct.
And
being that, and I'm not saying that you needed 2.5 milligrams. I'm not a physician, but being that you were losing your hair since the age of 14, you couldn't really start taking medication until you were about 18. I can certainly understand why you would kind of move in that direction. And if you're not seeing any adverse side effects, then that's great. And obviously, if you've been able to hold on to this much hair with what you're taking, then it's probably a decent, I'm not saying that you wouldn't have been able to do the same thing with 1 milligram, but, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if you don't seem to be progressing too much, then you've done a good job.
Sure. And that's why I switched to, I switched to finasteride here and there, but I hear on Reddit and things like that finasteride can cause more hair loss because it increases your testosterone. And that's why I was afraid, because if it wasn't for that, I would start right off the bat with do finasteride.
Let me ask you this. So you're 24 years old. You were a hyper responder to minoxidil, but you stopped using it. You're doing well on finasteride right now. I am not a physician, but have you considered talking to a physician about potentially giving oral minoxidil a try? Now, I want to preface this by saying, again, I'm not a doctor, and also, once you decide to make that move, you could end up going through tillage and effluvium as well.
Sure, but I did. It's more convenient, and I know it works better than topical minoxidil, but I can't find it anywhere here in Romania.
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember you mentioning that in a previous call, or maybe on your in the chat maybe one time. You were talking about how you can't get it, and you're asking where can you get it shipped to Romania, or just I remember that. Have you reached out to anyone outside of Romania? Have you tried like Spain or
what about even Bulgaria? It's right there.
I have some friends from Eastern Europe, and they say that they can find it either, such as Hungary, Bulgaria, and they say that they don't have a lot or anything. I traveled to Bucharest, and even in Bucharest, they told me that there's not in the market. And I asked is there any minoxidil? I thought maybe it would be a different brand name. Is there any minoxidil that it's in a pill form? And they said, no, we only have like liquid and foam. So I did not find it. I didn't try as far as Western Europe, such as Spain. I'm kind of like here not being scammed in a way. So that's why I never ordered it from online.
Here's why I think that's your best bet. Not all of, but a lot of the popular research that has turned people on to taking oral minoxidil has been done in Spain.
Yeah.
So we know it's available there. So if I were you, I would, if you have any friends that live in Spain, or if you can take some time to hop a plane and go to Spain, talk to, maybe set up a consultation with a couple of hair restoration specialists there that have, some good names, some reputable names, and let them know that you're coming for a consultation. And then while you're there, ask them about oral minoxidil. But do some recon first. Like get some numbers to some chemists in pharmacias in Spain, and see if they actually carry it. Just speak to them as if you live there, or have a friend do that if they need to speak Spanish, and find out if they carry it. Then that is your green light to hop a plane.
Sure. I mean, but I also do have friends in Spain.
Well, there you go.
So, yeah, but I don't know. I'm kind of like a little bit paranoid of not running out of Lonatan, so I can really rely on them. That was, I think I mentioned in a previous call, I don't need a prescription, not for finasteride, not for dutasteride. So, and a lot of Hungarians travel here in Romania so they could get dutasteride, finasteride, because it's much easier. So it's a little bit of an inconvenience, I would say, because I'm so used to it, of getting it like it's nothing.
Well, it's probably going to be a lot less convenient to have surgery than to, find a consistent source of Lonatan.
Yeah,
good point.
I do believe they. Go ahead.
No, just saying it was a good point that Spencer made.
Oh yeah, definitely. If I could go back in time, I would just be Lonatan and dutasteride right now. But I wasn't that educated at that time, I would say. So now I think that I might have to get a hair transplant, because I don't know why, but it really bothers me. Hair loss bothers me a lot. I don't know why.
Well, if you could get some hair in the places that you're losing hair through non-surgical means, wouldn't you want to give that a shot? Like surgery is always going to be there. Surgery will always be an option for you. So I think that the inconvenience of finding out where you can get it, and then the inconvenience of it's just a worry. It's an anxiety of not being able to get it in the future if you can start getting it. I think all that pales in comparison to having going through the trouble of having a surgery. Not to mention the potential of that surgery not fulfilling your dreams, not giving you what you want it to give you. In fact, maybe even giving you the opposite of what you want. So I would say this: don't have a hair transplant. You're still too young. You still got options in front of you. Even given that you've been receding for so long, and I think it's once you find a source, I think that you give that a year, you'll be in a better position to understand what your next step is. But I'm confident that you'll be able to find a resource, and you'll be able to get what you need consistently. Just give it some more time. Keep searching.
Sure, but do you guys think that I would still gain anything back, because I have been off minoxidil for about 9 months now, topical?
Well, you said yourself you're a hyper responder, and with oral minoxidil showing us anecdotally, at the very least, that it's more effective than topical for a lot of people, I don't see why not. I'm not a doctor. I know nothing about your case medically speaking, but that is certainly a possibility, and I think it's well worth investigating.
And let me ask you a question. Did you have significantly more hair 9 months ago before you stopped using?
Good question.
I would not. How should I say it? I was kind of like close. So right now I'm on oral 3, but it's thin around my hairline, but it was thick all over 9 months ago.
Then there's no reason to think that if you get back on minoxidil, especially oral minoxidil, again, not a doctor, you need to speak to your doctor about this, but there's no reason to think that you won't, at the very least, get back to where you were and possibly thicken everything that you currently have. That may be miniaturizing, and even get a little bit more hair back in the hairline, especially if there's some vellus hair that even if it's really not visible to the naked eye, it is possible.
Yeah, and funny that you mentioned that because I have like really small hairs that you can see it in pictures and things like that, but I can pinch it.
Yeah,
and I can see like my scalp going up.
Well, that's a great sign. That means that there's viable hair, that the miniaturization can be reversed, that hair could grow into robust hair under the right circumstances, using the right medication. And if you were a hyper-responder to topical minoxidil, I've known people who had significant hair loss that reversed it in, if you were to see images, it would freak people the F out. So it's very possible. You need to be under a doctor's supervision. The hair chemist said that he's in the chat, said that it's being marketed and sold in Italy as well.
That would be even closer.
Yeah. So you can certainly consider that. What's that Italian doctor's name? The chick?
Oh, Chiara Insulaco.
I can almost guarantee that she's prescribing it.
Yeah.
100%. So she's someone you can reach out to. Tell her that you're a fan of the Bald Truth and Joe Tillman's the main event. Get it?
Yeah.
And you may have to visit her, I don't know, or at least do an online consultation, but you may be able to get a prescription through her.
Yeah, that would be great. Do you mind, Joe? Do you mind if I text you on Instagram to get to have her name correctly?
Sure.
Tomorrow thanks a lot.
Whenever.
I really appreciate it.
All right, brother, we're going to go. I wish you the best of luck. I think Joe's advice is spot on. Surgery is a last resort. You are still young. You may actually be able to really do well with medication and hold on to that for years before you need a hair transplant.
I hope so. And like I said, I'll just keep you guys for 2 more minutes. This week has been a nightmare for me. I have long hair, and I'm scared of cutting my hair short, let alone going bald. So
I understand.
I don't know. I don't know why it affects me this much. Because I have a couple of friends that they are younger than me. They're 22, 23, and they're like Norwood 6. And I believe they embrace it, even though for me it's unimaginable.
Well, there are different degrees. It's not just it's not. It doesn't always come down to your mental outlook. There are some guys who, while they'd rather have hair, they still look at themselves without hair and they're like, okay, this is passable, and they still, are able to feel comfortable in their own skin and attract women and whatever and live their life.
Sure, definitely. I kind of envy that in a way.
Yeah, and then there are people like us who, when I was your age, it was like, there's no effing way. I will do whatever it takes. And I am now 58 years old, and I'm still, I'm dealing with a little retrograde in the back and, just some changes as I'm getting older. It still affects me. Now I definitely, and I don't want to jinx myself, but I am at a certain point in my life where, I'd rather not let it go. It would be what it would be. And I would either figure out a way. Maybe I'd become religious. I'd become a religious Jew. I'd start wearing a yarmulke. That's a good way to hide it. I have options.
Even for me, and I think I said that to Joe before, I would rather wear a hair system than being bald.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. The reason, there's a lot of hate out there, and there's a lot of people out there who, especially you see the vitriol and all the nonsense online where it's like, just shave it, bro, or, or they think the show is stupid. I've gotten this for years. All I know is the vast majority of guys who are losing their hair felt exactly like I did when I was 21, and that's why this and everything, the Bald Truth and the American Hair Loss Association and the IHRS, and, my books, that's why I created these resources, because I knew I wasn't the only one.
Yeah, I know it. And I know it's all about just shave it, bro, but honestly, I would trade one of my nuts than going bald.
Well, there's a lot of people out there who I had to speak. At the beginning of my career, I had to talk a guy out of getting an autodectomy, basically being castrated. He was seeing a physician, a psychiatrist, and he was going through the process to get the paperwork so he could be castrated so he would no longer go bald. I had to talk him out of that on the radio.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah,
So-
that would be insane.
Yeah. So
Even though I would not lie, that crossed my mind, but I would never do it. But yeah, it really affects me.
Well, here's what we learned from Hamilton, the guy who did the original Hamilton scale, which is then converted over to the Norwood scale, that in order for that to work, you would have to be castrated before the process started.
Yeah,
sure. And I
So-
believe you won't be able to develop a beard, or if you do it before you have a beard. If I'm correct.
You would have to be a child eunuch.
Yeah.
You'd have to go full on Tillman. Just kidding. I see Joe. When Joe's not paying attention, I like to give him shit.
You thought I wasn't paying attention. That was a test.
All right, brother.
How
Listen,
dare you?
brother. I hope the call helped you. Definitely contact him about Insalaka, right?
Sure.
That's her name. I know. I always forget
Yeah,
her name. Maybe you can get a prescription through her. And I'm sure, it may even be an online consultation, or you may have to, hop a plane and, and start to see her. But at least you'd be under the guidance of a physician who is well experienced in this.
And there are worse places to have a consultation than Rome.
Yes.
Yeah. One more quick question, and then I'll be out of your hair. Now that I started to test, right, do you guys that I will grow some hair back? Would that be a possibility?
It is possible.
That's why we're telling you to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100% possible.
Okay.
He just understood that. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, we're just
Now
telling
he's getting
we're just advising you to get on medication for the fuck of it.
Yeah. Yeah, now I'm starting the transition, so I'm slowly getting off finasteride and hopping on slowly on dutasteride. So yeah, that was it. Hopefully I will grow some hair back, and maybe in my 30s, if it's not working or whatever, I'll get a hair transplant. And I really appreciate you guys for everything.
Well, listen, kiddo, I wish you the best of luck. And again, surgery is, you do not want us to go down this route right now at 24. Give the meds some time. You may be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay. I hope so too. Good
All right,
luck.
buddy.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too, guys. Bye-bye.
I have to tell you, I do not miss being 24 and balding.
No.
Those were.
I miss being 24 and bald with a bunch of bad mini grafts in my hairline.
Yeah, I mean, you were in a bad position. I was just dealing with, the quasi comb over and the hairspray, which I grew into.
I grew into my comb over.
Yeah. I had the Trump the early years situation at a young age, but then, when you're 58 years old, it's like, oh my God, you got so much hair. So that's,
yeah.
Look, it only took 30 years. What am I going to do?
You grow into your age.
Got to be grateful. Anyway, Joe, great show. We're not going to take any more calls. It is 5:08. I guess we started about 7 or 8 minutes late. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today and taking the time out of your day to call this program to provide content for those who are tuning in, for those who will be listening and watching this program later, and for those who are going to be, checking my clips out on my Instagram page. Is that what it's called? A page? I don't know what it's called. On my Instagram, it's at Spencer Kobren. So if you're listening to this broadcast, just follow me. Follow me. And help us to spread the word. I know it's not exciting. I know I'm not giving you the, top 5 treatments to treat hair loss, all the happy horse shit that you see from these dermatologists and from all these TikTok docs. I know I'm not doing that. And maybe I should. If I just want to get more attention on there, maybe I should.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel good about it. I just want you guys to know the truth. That's it.
Is that so wrong?
Is that so wrong? YouTube.com/hair transplant mentor. Don't forget to subscribe to Joe Tillman's YouTube channel. Like this video. Ring the bell to get notifications so that you know we're live. TheBaldTruth.com and all the other websites are listed on Joe's YouTube channel. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you all so much for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.
Hold on.